Your fourth point, you kind of seemed frustrated with me by taking this to a cosmological argument. You're right, you didn't specifically bring up the topic. However, the purpose of my fish tank analogy was to challenge the very limitations that you are putting on God and give you a real world example of how He might be able to interact with us inside of our universe, all the while being grounded outside of it. That's why I went there. 5. You ask if I'm literally saying that the burning bush or the pillar of cloud and Jesus are just parts of God or God Himself. What I was trying to show you or say to you was that these are manifestations of how God has revealed Himself to us. Just like when the pet owner reaches into the tank with his bare hands. That is Him. It's not a piece that broke off and fell into our universe. It is Him. But is it His all-encompassing natural characteristic, primary trait? No, it's part. You know, I am not my hand. I'm the comprehensive whole of my body. So again, with my fish tank analogy, I'm telling you that the burning bush is His hand, and that the pillar of cloud is His finger, and you know, whatever. You get the analogy there. But that leads me to the fish tank criticism that you gave me towards the end of your video. You were meant to use your imagination to understand that outside of the tank is also supposed to be outside of our universe. You are correct in labeling it a bad analogy so long as the person viewing my model assumes that pet owner also occupies another point in the same universe. However, that is not what I meant to communicate or for you to imagine. Funny thing is, I found my analogy to be more fallacious on the grounds that it predisposes the viewer of my model to know that a pet owner does exist, almost creating a bias toward my view from the start, assuming one were inclined to participate the way I wanted them to. So I will admit to some purposeful construction there, and if you want to attack it as a fallacy from that point of view, I would understand. Perhaps the best analogy to what I was getting at is presented by an awesome apologist and friend of mine called Randall Niles. On YouTube, he is Reflect7. I will post a link in the sidebar to the specific video called Flatland that you might want to go check out. Flatland presents an analogy that's a lot better than my fish tank one, but the fish tank was easier for me to comment on because he, like you, functions on an intellectual level that I don't feel adequate to function on. Okay, lastly, you end your video essentially making the statement that God is made of nothing. This last comment of yours is what leads me into my main point of rebuttal to you. Though I cannot seem to give you an example that meets with your criteria for a physical ontology, a cohesive physical ontology, I assume that you might concede defeat on some level so long as I can show even one other concept that you know to exist, but also fail to carry with it a physical character or ontology. I'm actually going to give you two. I'm not sure how you'll react to either one of these. Maybe you've got an awesome rebuttal, and as some of your viewers commented in your last rebuttal to me, maybe they'll deem that you've pwned me. But this is something I'd like for you to answer. The first concept that I think you're going to have trouble with under the same guidelines that you are putting forth is math and numbers. What is math? What are numbers? What is the number 1 but a descriptor or a placeholder that we mutually agree upon to represent the same concept? Let's go a bit deeper though. What is 0? 0 is supposed to be nothing, right? Yet we both have the ability to use this number, discuss it, and understand it in the confines of math. Perhaps most difficult to explain are negative numbers. How do you have 1 less than nothing? That kind of falls in the same category as what you're describing here, which is a negative ontology. You know what it's not. I have a few quotes here I want to read. One from Roger Bacon, an English professor and scientist. He says, "All science requires mathematics. The knowledge of mathematical things is almost innate in us. This is the easiest of sciences, a fact which is obvious in that no one's brain rejects it. For laymen and people who are utterly illiterate know how to count and reckon. Another quote here by Randall Niles, who is a professor of mathematics at Bakersfield College, says this: "What is mathematics? Most people would say it has something to do with numbers, but numbers are just one type of mathematical structure. Saying math is the study of numbers or something similar is like saying that zoology is the study of giraffes. Math may be better thought of as the study of patterns, but this too falls short. The more I study math, the more I wonder about what exactly math is. Actually, nobody knows. It seems to be a product of our minds and yet reflects the external universe with uncanny accuracy. A mathematician develops a mathematical theory for an aesthetic, unworldly beauty and its compelling evolution, with no thought of how it might be applied to the world. A century later, a physicist finds this theory to be perfect to use as a framework to express his physics. This sort of thing happens frequently. Pretty weird how intimately connected our innermost mind and the outermost universe really are. This is a profound mystery." Bruce Bennett, my advisor in grad school, this is still a quote from Raphael. Bruce Bennett, my advisor in grad school, defines mathematics as unified consciousness theory. As you come to master a branch of mathematics, it is as though you've grown a new abstract organ or perception through which you may then view the world. You've grown a new mind's eye that can perceive realities literally unconceivable without this new organ of perception. Seems to me that we can agree that math and numbers exist, but many in the field will define it much in the way that Christians define God. In fact, if I were to read these quotes again but replace the word math or mathematics with God, it's almost identical to what we describe. If that still doesn't satisfy you, or you want one more example, I'm going to dive into one other subject that I will confess I don't know a lot about, but I did a little bit of research, and I'm going to read the Wikipedia post regarding dark matter. In physics and cosmology, dark matter is hypothetical matter that does not interact with the electromagnetic force, but whose presence can be inferred from gravitational effects on visible matter. That sentence alone says it all. It's hypothetical matter, so you can't come back to me and say that this is actually physical matter. Hypothetical matter is the same thing as saying immaterial, as far as I'm concerned. All these lines of evidence suggest that galaxies, clusters of galaxies, and the universe as a whole contain far more matter than that which interacts with electromagnetic radiation. The remainder is called dark matter component. There's a lot more going on here, but let me skip down to the bottom. It has been noted that the names dark matter and dark energy serve mainly as expressions of human ignorance, much as the marking of early maps with terra incognita. They don't know how to define this stuff. They don't describe it as material, yet there's plenty of evidence of how it affects our universe, so they know that it actually exists. Again, another great analogy to God. If I'm reading this correctly, we have identified this to be the glue that holds the universe together. Yet we can no more define this than we can define God himself. Instead, we are left only to use secondary characteristics in describing it and point to the various pieces of evidence that it seems to affect. So those are my thoughts. I look forward to your reply, and I thank you again for this opportunity. The Edge signing off for now.